Eternal blessings. We are back with another video. Alright, before we begin, a couple quick announcements. About 2 more weeks, I believe, and then the yearly forecast readings will be finished. So I just want to throw that out there. So you have pretty much the end of this weekend, which the date of this video being recorded, February 27th, and all of next week to book. And then that's it. That will wrap up the yearly forecast readings. If you're interested in any other type of reading that I offer, a Klipothic demonic reading, a Santa Muerte reading, an Egyptian oracle reading, which the Egyptian oracle readings, man, they're one of my favorites to do. A lot of insight in those readings when you do those. I've been getting a lot of requests for those for the last probably 3 months now. Or maybe you're interested in a shadow work reading, which is, shadow work is continue. You know how I feel about that. I don't think I need to keep explaining that, which I will keep explaining it in the future. Or deity reading to see what gods, goddesses, demons, and spirits walk with you. Or maybe you're just interested in a spiritual consultation, which can be used for whatever you want to use it for, as far as maybe you want to focus on something specific. You got questions about something on the path. You got something specifically you're dealing with you want to focus on. And most people just use it for a full question and answer session with myself in regards to, they have a lot of questions about the path. So most people use it in regards to that. Any of the aforementioned, shoot me an email at khnum19@gmail.com. Please include in your email your full availability on a weekly basis. Not just I'm available Thursday at 2 p.m. It doesn't work like that. And also include the time zone that you're in. And we will find a date and time that works for both of us. All right. Also, don't forget to check out the Primordial Chaos Patreon page if you want to sign up for the classes that I do. I do 3 classes every month on Patreon for Patreon members only. 3 private classes every month, and we do a group ritual. And speaking of that, we have the Luciferian Rite of the Luciferian Mysteries ritual tomorrow night, as of the day of the recording of this video, February 28th. So if you're a Patreon member, you have access to that. And we do 1 group ritual together at the end of the month. Go to patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti. Tier 3. If you join Tier 3, it gives you access to all the classes, everything in the archive going 5 years back, all the rituals. Gives you access to all the ongoing classes that are going on currently, and all the classes moving forward. If you go to that Patreon page, when you get to the Patreon page at patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti, click the collection section, and that's going to show you all the ongoing classes, everything that's archived, everything that's going on, and it's going to give you a good idea of how many classes that I'm doing currently on a continuous, as I rotate them on a month-to-month basis. We just added 2 new classes for 2025, which is the Necronomicon class, which guys are giving me tremendous feedback on that, and also the Egyptian Hermetic Alchemy class, which is, check them out. We're only 2 classes deep in both of those classes and counting. Also, don't forget to check out all the social media pages, Primordial Chaos 9 on Instagram, Primordial Chaos 2 words on Facebook, and Primordial Chaos 3 on TikTok. That's the best place to stay up to date, up to par on all the latest happenings on what I'm doing here on Primordial Chaos. Also, don't forget to check out the Primordial Chaos podcast, available on Spotify and all major podcast platforms. Also throw out there, look for more information now. Believe it or not, as so-called linear time is flying by, we're approaching March already. So as we get closer and deeper in the year, you'll hear more about the 8th annual Journey of the Black Adept Conference. That'll take place October 2025, the last 3rd or 4th week in October. I do release the official weekend. It's always around near Halloween time. I just have to wait for my son's travel hockey schedule, which comes out around April-ish, April, May-ish, somewhere around there. So a little bit later. But more to come on the 8th annual Journey of the Black Adept Conference, as we get now navigating into spring almost already. But we'll start really putting that out there as we know. We look forward to that every year. So the direct link to the podcast, the direct link to the social media pages, my contact email address, and the direct link to the Primordial Chaos Patreon page to sign up for classes. All of those links are in the description box of this video you're watching right now and all my videos on YouTube for the most part. All right. So I just figured we get into it. We have the Rite of the Luciferian mysteries. So I want to kind of talk a little bit in this video about Luciferian spirituality and philosophy. And Luciferian spirituality and philosophy, there are a lot of doctrines out there that deal with the concept of what real Luciferian spirituality is. And it's about self-mastery. Okay? It's about tapping into the aspects of yourself and how you are connected to everything and how everything is connected to you. But I want to connect something a little different in this video and this, in these short tutorials I do. The Luciferian mysteries in relationship, using Luciferian spirituality to crack and decode the matriarchal system, right? We always hear these concepts that we're living in a matrix. We're living in some type of simulation, right? If you look up the definition of a simulation, it's like a replica of something, a copy of something, right? If you understand and you've studied what the matrix is, you've heard about matriarchal systems, right? And yes, there is a lot of leadway to that whole concept of, are we stuck in some type of simulation or matrix grid? The complexity to get people to understand that, this is where it gets a little bit confusing. When you hear me always talking about you're living in two realms side by side that are parallel to each other, and you're jumping back and forth from each of these abodes or realms or existences, some people, I know they hear me saying it, but some people just don't get it or understanding. There it is. What I'm trying to get you to see is, okay, there is your realms, your subjective realms, your universes that you navigate through and exist, and you rule over and have full control over these domains or realms of existence. It's when we talk about the concept of you standing on the center of your axis, or you standing firm on your square, as they say in the Masonic mysteries. Are you standing firm on that square where everything is evolving around you? Now, how they get you pushed off that square is with all these systems of indoctrinations. Once they can invade your thoughts, they can use many forms of intrusive thoughts to create a simulation based on what your reality is. I know it's going to sound a little fucking bugged out, but follow me. And then they can simulate something and kind of intertwine. It can be so, they can make it so conflicting where it's hard for you to decipher between what's an illusion and what's reality. That's the simulated matriarchs that they trying to trap us all in. How? By controlling our thoughts, our emotions, by feeding us all these images and feeding us these through these images, frequencies, energies, whatever you want to refer to it as, and are able to manipulate our thoughts. I told you, the lower they can get you to vibrate at, if you become such a low vibrational frequency being, it's very easy for them to invade your thoughts. How do you know this happens? If you're a person who, I don't know if panicky is the right word, but if you are you have high anxiety, you're on edge all the time, you constantly feel like you're feeling sick, you kind of have paranoia. This is developing more and more as we're living in the day and time and the age that we're in with everything that's going on. They're fucking with everybody now. We all know the sensationalism that's going on with the whole politics and the Trump shit and everything that goes on in the world. So what they do is they put you in this simulation. And as they put you in this simulation, they surround you with all these things that I talk about. And when they feed off your emotions through all of those aspects, fear, anxiety, rage, anger, all of those things, They have to get your vibrational frequency to such a low point where now it's easy for them. They can send you frequencies and wavelengths of energy directly to your mind and alter the way you think, but you have to be vibrating at such a low frequency for them to do that. The more you become a high vibrational frequency being, and the more the pineal is activated and you wake up, and the more that you're able to absorb these waves of energy or consciousness to really have that internal divine awakening that you so need, that keeps you on the path that you need to be on, and it keeps you quote unquote firm on your square, the center of your axis. When you're centered and focused, they can't get at you. This is why when I say they can't get at you, it's hard for them to penetrate that. Okay? And this is why I said in the end of the year, going into the beginning of the year, the importance, the extreme importance of getting your shit together now, because they're coming after spiritual people now. Okay? They're not worried about the people they got in the clubs, partying, getting drunk, getting high, robbing, stealing, out doing a bunch of derelict shit. They got those. They don't need to worry about those type of people. They're not worried about the people who are so trapped in their emotions. They're angry about everything in the world. They become so bitter and they can't facilitate their emotions. They got those people already. They're not worried about the people who are living in fear and panicking and are completely consumed and devoured by conspiracy theories, this, that, and they got those people. They don't care about those people. So I'm trying to show you there's a variety of ways they can come at you, who they are worried about. Because the real individuals, the real male and females, the gods, the goddesses, whatever you want to refer to it as, that are now transcending or taking that next leap in their DNA to their spiritual involvement, to their spiritual evolution to become what they're destined to become, they fear that. Because now it's going to be those who rise up, the true people that are starting to awaken to what's really going on out here and within themselves. They start to see now this, and that's why I keep saying this is an inward journey out, not an outward journey in. See, those that look at this spiritual path as you're starting from somewhere way out there working in, that's part of the simulation thoughts that they send out there. That's part of that matriarchal grid. One of the biggest things they focused on in all the dogmas and the religions they created was to have you looking as far outside of yourself for the creator, for God, for the truth, to love about life and death, this, that, and the third. The farther away I can get you to look from outside of yourself, the easier it is for me to keep you trapped. That's why all your monotheistic religions are about pie in the sky, about some spooky being somewhere way out there in a place called heaven that nobody can prove even exists, outside of fairy tales, myths, and biblical quotes that can't be confirmed. Okay? That was one of the number one things when they formulated this whole matriarchal system, when they formulated this whole simulation and grid. They knew they had to have a paradigm and a dogma that supported that paradigm or that system that they were trying to implement on us mentally. And they've been wildly successful. Okay? So when you hear people say over the years, I've had issues with it over the years because they don't thoroughly explain it. When they say this world is an illusion, it's not a reality. Well, there's a fine line between both of those things. There is some reality to this world. Okay? You have to decipher what that is. Okay? You also have to understand, and that's why I always used to, you hear me made the statement over the years, if you think everything is an illusion, have somebody crack you dead in your face and tell me if you feel the pain. So know how to differentiate between that matriarchal system, that simulation, and you get a better idea, or you have a strong idea of what I'm talking about. You have a better method of understanding that. All right. So I want to make it clear. In order for us to really grow how we need to grow on this path, it's very important that we cracked that, lack of a better word, that code, that grid, and we have the ability to do it. But if you go back when I started talking about a couple of years ago, you've been in a war. There's planetary warfare for the control of your mind. This escalated a couple of years ago because, and I gotta be careful when you say the pandemic or the C word on here, the beverage, the coronavirus, because those are trigger words. They tend to kind of ban your videos, so I don't want to say anything incorrect. But that was a global reset. When I was talking about that, and that's now, believe it or not, doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but it's been 5 years now since that shutdown. How time, so-called time, flies by fast. I tried to tell everybody there was a lot of things going on when that was going on. And when I say it was a global reset, it wasn't just financially. That was part of it. Okay? They did a whole reset on everything. And if those who really are connected and rooted in their spirituality, you can see, feel, taste, and sense how things have changed since 2020 on all levels. Okay? Yes, you can look around you for the main part, for the on the mundane surface, you can look around and for the most part you can see it appears, and I say the word appears, that they've created some level of normalcy. So to us, to the average human being who's not awake, the average human being just looks around and they get so caught up in their routine and their system, they say, okay, things look normal again, people going back to work, people back out on the road, the stores are open for the most part, people ain't wearing masks no more, this, that, and the third. So they've now, it's amazing how they can institute something like a pandemic to do what they need to do and then just reset everything and bring it back, or create the illusion of bringing it back to the way it was, and then people just go right back to doing the same shit. Those are the people that are asleep. I don't know about you, but when that whole period was going on, I uncovered a lot of hidden spiritual gnosis on all levels. Those of us who are the spiritual warriors, those who are quote unquote aligned and connected with their spirituality, or if you want to use the word awaked or woke, we took it to a whole nother level. So there was others who went deeper into that slumber and sleep. Now, before I run out of time, and remember, this is just a quick, I do these videos quick, 20, 30-minute videos. So I kind of have to jump a little bit all over the place. And, obviously for time, I'm going to try to go live shortly after this video, maybe later today or tomorrow, and expound more on this. Now, where does the Luciferian spirituality and philosophy come in? The aspect of self-mastery. That's what Luciferian spirituality is. Not this shit you see on the internet, not this spooky ass shit. Because people, you've got all the definitions from religious folks. Because immediately when you hear the word Luciferian, another mistake people make, they think Luciferian is the same thing as what some people classify as Satanism spirituality, and it's not. I have to keep reiterating that. Because how many times I hear people say, oh, Luciferian spirituality, that's Satanism, right? Absolutely not. Let's make that clear. Satanism, and I did a video on this maybe a year or two ago, just on that alone. But let's make it clear. Luciferian spirituality and Satanism are not the same thing. Okay? It's working with two different aspects of the occult and the left-hand path. Yes, is it working with the deific mask of the adversary? Yes, but they're two completely different spiritual practices and approaches. Okay? The term you hear Luciferian comes from, yes, has its root in the word, what we know as the deity mentioned as Lucifer, because Lucifer embodies light and darkness, as I've said many times before. One must go into the dark to do the work of the light. Lucifer represents that level of spirituality and consciousness of light and darkness. He embodies that light and darkness simultaneously, and that's what an individual needs to harmonize their self out. I'm hearing now recently I'm seeing on some channels, a lot of these quote unquote conscious woke channels, where I see people trying now to crack and talk a little bit, crack the mysteries of Lucifer, and it's a bunch of horse shit. Be careful, because I'm starting to see now people for years have been avoiding the whole Lucifer principle, for lack of a better word, because it's been so religified, as I like to say, my own word I made up, religified. They go by the Christianity definition of what Lucifer is. They go to what they were indoctrinated with through Christianity, because they have no clue understanding. But there are some people now taking the turn and looking at the concept or the principle of Lucifer in a completely different perspective. Not from that religious, spooky, evil bullshit that they created. But in that process, I also see they're dumbing it down, like they've done with Kali and Hecate, and Lilith. They've created these new agey concepts and these Hebrew mystical concepts of Lilith and some of the other deities, and it's not true. It's just these are people doing it to suit their ideology. But that's a video for a whole nother time. But the Luciferian concept, that I want to focus on is what Luciferian spirituality and philosophy is in relationship, how it can be used to bust through that simulation and that matriarchs that they got us trapped in. Okay? And that's what in my opinion, that's what a true Luciferian spiritual practitioner does, is they understand themselves, number one. They understand their relationship to everything into existence. And most importantly, on a path of self-mastery, they know it starts from within. It's an inward journey out, right? Self-deification, which we also know on the occult left-hand path, which is apotheosis, which is a form of Luciferian spirituality and Luciferian practice, 100%. That's also connected to what we do, because apotheosis... Now, I want to make this clear, because some people, they get it twisted. Just because you're on a path of self-mastery, apotheosis, doesn't mean you're not going to have everyday problems. That you're not going to struggle with certain things, because remember, you're striving to constantly achieve that self-deification, self-mastery, to that state, quote-unquote, of godhood or goddessness, hood, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But people think, because how can you be on a path of self-mastery and obtain apotheosis when you got this problem or that problem? That's not true. That just shows you don't understand really what this path is about. Now, when you're being consumed by your problems, now we're not talking about the person who's going to have their dealings with bullshit here and there. That's unavoidable. We're not talking about that. But if you're being completely consumed by your problems and you have no control over it whatsoever, then that's a whole different story. Then you're definitely not on this path, or you're doing something wrong. Okay? But my point is, tap into and the rites of the Luciferian mysteries that we are going to do in the ritual tomorrow night, as of the recording of this video. It's going to be focused on how you tap in to get, how you make that spiritual alignment. Because, I was going to say, it sounds crazy. Once you understand that each one of us are in our own world simultaneously, but even though we're living our own existence, but we're connected side by side, because again, you go back, like we're talking about in the Hermetic Alchemy class. If all things are connected, how can I have my thoughts and you have your thoughts? But how can everything be of the one thing, of the one mind? Think about that for a minute. These are the things we tackle in the Egyptian Hermetic Alchemy class. And there's science in that. And here's the science I want you to marinate on before I end this video. How are we still able to maintain our individuality, which is necessary for the togetherness and the connectiveness? I know it's going to sound crazy, but let me say it again. if you have your thoughts and I have my thoughts, how can we all be connected and be of the one thing and the one mind? Because everybody teaches about this connectiveness, all things are connected, and it's true, but they don't know how to explain how all these things are connected. And as I've said to you before, your individuality is just as important as your connectiveness to everything that exists in the multiverses. And what the occult and the left-hand path teaches, even like for use it as an example in the form of Set or Satuk, who is the greatest manifestation of that self-isolation or the black consciousness or the black flame of Set, the isolated consciousness. That's where the mysteries are unlocked, and that's very Luciferian in nature. Understanding the deity Set is very Luciferian in nature because of what Set represents, right? I'm just using this as an example. So I want you to marinate on that. How can you have your thoughts? I have mine. Or how can you have your thoughts and everybody else have their own thoughts? But yet, how is everything connected? How are we all the one thing, the one mind? Now, people will talk about the collective consciousness, and they don't even really know how to explain that. And I'm not invalidating any of that. But what we take it a step further, because we show you how to maintain the importance of your own personal individuality, which leads to your uniqueness, but also showing you how you're still connected, right? Where other paths teach you don't do that. But there's more of a science to that. That's very Luciferian in nature because it keeps in alignment the principle that everything evolves around you. You don't evolve around everything. Okay? We talk about, or you hear about over the years about, I think it was a movie they made a couple of years ago called Jumpers, where they were kind of jumping into different time zones and dimensions. That may not be the right name of the movie. It came out several years ago. I think it was called Jumpers. They were trying to show you something in that movie. A lot of the stuff that I'm talking about now, they were trying to show you in that movie. Okay? And it all is in alignment with what I've been saying for years, that linear time is bullshit, that we only deal with cyclical time and cycle time, or cyclical time is something constant. It's continual, which is in alignment with the principle of Leviathan, the principle of continuity and existence. That explains the Ouroboros. That explains, what we vibrate on, as far as what they're calling time. It's cyclical. It's eternal. It's existence. Linear puts a beginning and an ending on everything, creating chaos and confusion and consuming you in that chaos and confusion, which that's a whole other story. But anyway, it's about taking the approach of Luciferian self-mastery, taking that approach to a Luciferian mindset, because you're going to need the powers of light and darkness. You're going to need to harmonize them correctly in order to master yourself, break this matriarchal grid and simulation, and using that Luciferian spirituality to do that. That's the goal, and that's what I'm trying to show you guys in 2025, all right? I'm going to wrap it up here because I'm almost at my destination. I'll be doing a live soon. Just a lot going on. Just be patient. So hopefully this video helped you out. Again, if you need to reach out to me for a spiritual reading or a consultation, if you want to sign up for classes, if you need to contact me, just keep in mind the direct link to my email address, the direct link to the social media pages, the podcast, the direct link to the Primordial Chaos Patreon page to sign up for classes. All those links are in the description box of this video that you're watching right now. Hope this helped. We'll talk soon. Final blessings.